What do you think about like digital legacy in terms of like leaving some type of server up after you're gone or something like with your like because it's weird like we would pass and you see we all have friends on
Wow,
Facebook that's like they're there but they're gone. Do you ever think about like having some sort of thing that lives on, kind of like a
dude. Okay, first of all, what I don't know if this thing you're talking about exists, but what a great idea! If you just had this, you just came up with this. That should be a thing, right? That's a multi-million or maybe billion-dollar uh, uh, industry that you just said just now. Like we all, first of all, the number one thing that human beings want is to be missed when we're gone. That's
mm-hmm,
our inner core thing. Like we want to be loved, all this stuff, but we also more than loved, we want to be missed.
mm-hmm.
And so imagine if you could live on digitally, like still post, schedule posts,
Yeah,
and
you schedule
still
exactly
have
like oh, yeah.
things come out. That's kind of amazing. And then maybe there's a service that you just upload everything that you have that you never posted, and then someone goes through it and keeps you alive as a digital. Oh my god,
Yeah.
man, that's sci-fi shit.
Like
But
what's it called? Like when someone dies and but they still have money. I can't.
I don't
It's
know.
not a foundation, but like a estate, kind of like a
Oh,
digital
their estate,
estate.
a
So like
digital
you
estate.
have like a digital estate that like manages your
Wow.
digital, or maybe someone's talking shit about you when you're dead, and they go
So
in and they and they
they
manage
they
that.
roast they roast you. Well, like no, you know what? So yeah, so like people who have estates, like there are like for instance some really famous photographers who
Yeah.
they die. Like there's a guy who recently died, and he has an estate. And he has people that work with his estate, so they're still posting on his Instagram account.
Hmm.
Uh, uh, and I'm sorry, I can't remember his name now. Peter. Is it Peter Lindbergh? I can't remember. I
I
could
don't
be.
know.
I. But anyway, he's really famous, really amazing photographer, and so there's still posts going up. Like so that kind of thing, but for the average person would be super cool.
It would be
So
super
somebody
cool.
should
All
jump
right.
on that. You know,
Yeah.
that's super cool, man. Well, thanks, dude. Thanks for having me on. This is a
Yeah.
blast, and
Oh,
and I and I.
I'm getting all these last minute questions, but I have one more for
But
you now.
dude, keep them. I'll
Um,
keep them coming.
So there's like as a photographer, you own the copyright to your work, right? So you take the photo and that
Yeah,
resides with the cop.
when a photographer takes a picture, like yeah, technically they own the photo. And there are a lot of photographers who are very what is the word, territorial, not territorial, but
Yeah.
very like overprotective of that. And you see that a lot with like TMZ
Hmm.
stuff and like Getty images. It's like you see people posting on their Instagram. It's like a Getty image. It's like
Yeah.
watermarked. They take and now they have to pay for
Yeah.
the image. So so I'm pretty chill about stuff like my photos. I'm taking them because I want people to be using them, but then I draw a line where it's where someone's using it for commercial purposes. I mean like either trying to sell it
Hmm.
or using it for like some major tour poster. But other photographers, they want like they'll take pictures for a show and then they'll just send you thumbnails and then you have to pay for the full res image. You know what I mean? It doesn't.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't think it
Yeah.
happens much in comedy, but it does happen for a lot of other types of photography.
Right.
Um,
So
so,
if
but
you got hired
I
for a
want people.
show, you get hired for a show, you shoot a bunch of comedians, and then you find out that comedian used the photo for their album cover. Would that be crossing the line?
That's a look and see situation because I've had it. I mean, so short answer is it's an album cover. So yeah, because
Yeah. It
because
feels like it
they're
would be.
album cover. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you know, the best way I can describe it, because it's hard. It's hard for. I think it's hard. It took me a while to understand all this stuff. Before I was a photographer and when I dealt with photographers, I'd be like, what? But I
Hmm.
hired you for this thing. So like you like I, it sort of depends on the situation. I've had people like use stuff for album covers and and um and then I don't even know about it until after the
Yeah.
fact. But sometimes there's been times where I've been okay with that, but it depends on the shoot. It depends on
Right.
like how the hiring situation and what we talked about. Um, but so I mean, it's hard for me to say. There's a lot of times where I don't care, but especially when it's, I mean,
But
again, it's
but
every
ideally,
situation's look and see. You
ideally
can't.
someone should come to you. So like if they leave with some Troy photos or whoever the photographer is, they should go to that photographer and say, "Hey, just so you know, I love this photo. I'm doing an album," and they should have the conversation.
Yeah,
Ideally,
they should have a conversation, be like, hey, can we work out a deal? Like if it's not
yeah,
a big comic, then yeah, then they should still, drop me a note, hit me up and say, hey, can we work out a deal? Can I give you, like, if they don't have any money, cool, pay me on the back end, give me a little, after you start selling albums or whatever.
yeah,
If it's somebody who's like destitute, broke, whatever, cool. But I can't work for free in this business. You know what I mean? Like, it's the burden shouldn't fall on me to give people free stuff. Like, but dude, I've had crazy situations with that. But I've done a lot of
hmm,
album covers,
yeah.
and people hire me for those. That's a gig. You have oh, is that
I got
is
my
that your
kid.
kid?
Oh,
Oh,
my
that's
kid
great.
banging at the door. That's probably a good cue to wrap it up.
This is a rap. That's the rap cue. But yeah,
Hold on one
so
second.
but
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
keep going. Keep going. Yeah.
But I was just gonna say, like, anytime with the best way I can describe it is it'd be like if you had a comedy album
Yeah.
and then someone wanted to use it for commercial purposes, but not even pay you or let you know, whatever. It's totally a different situation.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, it changes it. Like if someone was charging, like, let's say showing your movie and then charging everyone, you'd kind of be like, wait, but that's my movie. Like, you can't just open up your own theater and just start charging and just show it on,
Totally.
it's like
So,
when it's like stealing UFC fights.
oh yeah, it's just total copyright. Hold on one sec.
Yeah, 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 go for it. Further, it is weird to do a podcast alone, but I'll say this to everybody that's watching. Uh, don't be overprotective with your art and with the stuff that you do. You just have to do it for the love of the game. If you're in it for the money, if you're doing the art for your money,
Mm-hmm.
doing your art for money only, then it's probably not your real calling. You should be paid for something you provide of value.
Yeah.
But nobody in this life, nobody owes you anything, and
Mm-hmm.
you're not entitled to anything. You're here to create value, and when you do that, you'll be rewarded for it. um, I hope that all makes sense.
No, it makes super sense. It's always like copyright is such a weird thing, and I come from like a music background too, and that's a whole
Yeah.
other thing of like esoteric. And I'm sure you remember clearing stuff for films and stuff like that, and both sides of the copyright, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of times when people just get caught. Like sometimes they sample something and they didn't realize how it's supposed to work, or they use the photo and they don't know how it works. So all
Right.
this stuff is always super helpful for people to learn and find out.
Yeah, it's, you know what, that's a good thing. It's like with music, like I just shot for Chris D'Elia's Netflix special, and that his special ends with an Eminem song,
Mm-hmm.
and I guarantee you that was all taken care of. Like,
Oh, for
they
sure.
didn't just, Eminem wasn't watching and went, hey, they used my song and didn't, like, that you can't do that.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
and they're kind of
you know,
buddies. I think they. Oh,
and
yeah,
well, yeah, by the way, yeah, they're good buddies, and
yeah, yeah.
those
There's
stories of
no
Chris
way, and
D'Elia.
he's about his business. There's no way he would just throw that in and hope for the best.
Right, right, right. No, of course he's getting paid for that. It's not like Netflix, like, hey, we don't have any money. So yeah, no, that absolutely, that's all budgeted for. But yeah, I mean, look, it's, that thing we talked about bothering people.
Yeah,
If someone wanted to use a photo for an album cover and they just used it, I think that's an egregious error on their part.
yeah,
I wouldn't be happy about it, because that means that they just didn't want to bother me.
right.
And I think, or whatever, like, they probably just like, oh, I don't want to bother me, and then be a human, and we'll work
Yeah,
it out. You know what I mean? Like, it's an easy
yeah.
thing.
With some fear
Again, but I
involved
want
too. It's
people.
like, oh, I love this photo. Like, what if I call him and he wants $10,000? And like, yeah, like
Oh
as
my
an
god.
artist, you're in these weird situations where like the fear overtakes you, and you don't, and you like you get kind of
Right,
paralyzed by not wanting to
right.
reach out.
but yeah, but yeah, I mean, people who know me, I mean, I'm a super fair person, so
Yeah.
I work with anybody on anything. But there are people out there who don't, who it's, it's crazy. And but again,
Hmm.
I want people, like, if I'm taking pictures, I want those things to be used. That's what
Hmm.
they're there for.
Right.
Um, I'm
But
super
tag
happy.
you for on Instagram, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Give a
tag
photo
me
credit.
sometimes.
Be generous.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's with any photographer.
Yeah.
I do think that's a good idea. Sometimes people forget, and it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that is people forget to tip their server as well.
Yeah.
But
Oh yeah.
it's
Or their Uber
it's not an
Eats.
ideal situation. But
Yeah.
it happens. I don't get that upset about it, but I want people. I get more upset when people just don't make use of something, a marketing tool that they have. Like they
Hmm.
might have some good photos, and then they don't use them. Like you can put text on it and use it as your next flyer. Like, please
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Like, so when you're saying like people are doing that, it makes me happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Especially like if they clear the album with you, then you have another ally as part of the album. Because then
Yeah,
maybe you might
totally.
repost it. Then that's more people checking it out, and you
Yeah,
end up
absolutely.
doing things properly. You end up building your team instead of making enemies. You know.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I mean, yeah, that's well said. You want to bring people in. You want to have everybody have an ego stake in a project, and so when you have something that involves a lot of people, it's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna say it again. Troy Conrad with an S on Instagram. Thanks so much, dude. You're a great friend.
Thanks,
You do
Latif.
great work. Love your stuff, obviously. And
Thanks, man.
everyone out there, hire him, get him on your stuff, album covers, everything. And
Thanks, man.
we'll
Thanks. Yeah,
talk soon.
yeah, we'll talk soon. I'm happy to be on anytime, and stay safe out there.
You too. All right, take care,
All right, later.
dude. Thanks so much, man.
Sure thing, man. That was a
Yeah,
blast.
it was so fun. Yeah, we're kind of on the
That was
same
a good.
wavelength of a lot of things. I feel like I could go
Yeah, I
for.
know, and
Yeah,
I knew you were into that stuff, but I didn't know the extent of it. So that's really cool. You know all those things as well. Like that's my world. And when you talk about Tim Ferriss, all that stuff, like, dude, I love all that stuff.
oh yeah,
And
I love.
since
Yeah,
I was 19, I've been into all that stuff.
yeah, I love self help. I love all those books. I love, self improvement is just always so good. Like I could. There is a limit. You know, Ramin Nazer. He did my podcast artwork. He's a comedian,
I know the
and
name.
he does Rainbow Brain Skull. Those kind of like cool images. And he had this one that stuck
Oh,
with me though. There's like just a guy pile like if I keep reading these books that I don't actually have to start, and
yes,
that
and that's
always
a real
sticks with
thing.
me every time I pick up another one. But there are so many good ones like War of Art. Like I have
Oh, dude, War of
the
Art for
Crossroads
sure.
of Should and Must. Uh,
Oh yeah, dude.
it's,
And then one of my favorites. Oh, I see one there that one of my favorites that I keep going back to. Um, I was just let's see the Four Agreements. I was just reading
oh, Four Agreements is good. Yeah.
again audio. Like I'm big into audiobooks, but I'll tell you one that I bet you don't know of. That's one of the cool, and it's right up your alley. It'll be one of your all-time favorites.
Hmm.
It's by Gary Kasparov. You know Gary from the world
Oh,
chess
Kasparov.
champion.
Yeah,
Gary, yeah. He wrote a book called How Life Imitates Chess.
yeah.
And I wish I
Mm.
would remember this on the podcast because for a comic to read that will change how you perform, but also change how you market. So it's made as a business book. The title is How Life Imitates Chess from the, let's see, from the boardroom. I think it's from the bedroom to the board. No, from the boardroom, something to the boardroom to the something. And it's so well done, like audiobook. Get the audiobook. It's got my favorite
Does he
narrator.
talk about it? Or no, different narrator.
It's
Is
a
a
different
narrator.
narrator.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's like the best narrator that there is. Like
Yeah.
I nerd out on audiobooks.
Yeah.
So
That's a
there's
guy who
some
knows his
narrators.
books, who you have a narrator you like.
Oh, dude, this guy's so
Yeah.
his voice is just like I can listen to it on a loop.
I have
Um,
fonts I like certain books and different font. Like sometimes I look at the book, I'm like, this font is amazing. Like I just feels nice to read.
yeah, totally. If they pick the
Yeah.
right one, I agree with that.
I read on the Kindle sometimes, and then I
Yes.
put on Open Dyslexic. I'm not dyslexic, but I put it on. Have you ever tried it? For what
What's open?
it's like a font for just. I'm assuming it's a font for dyslexic people, but like
Oh no
it
way,
makes the reading so smooth. Like I love it.
dude. I didn't even know about this.
Yeah, I
I'm gonna
mean,
try it.
anyone who is dyslexic. Check it out. I don't. Hopefully, it's for dyslexic
Wow.
people, but yeah, it was
Dude,
really.
that's so cool.
Yeah. So I read at night in Open Dyslexic.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. I'm going to
Yeah.
totally check that out.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I'll
there's
throw
so
this a
much
little
good.
bonus clip on the pod with our self help recommendations.